Hello everyone, this is Torrendil, and this is another fast forward guide, this time featuring Blackrock Caverns Heroic mode. It's a full run, we didn't skip any bosses, and it is of course as usual put up to 4 times the speed. And it was actually a very successful run with only one mispull from me, which led to a wipe. Also, as I'm getting better gear now, I'm starting to feel quite cocky, so we didn't actually use any CC through the whole instance. Then the last thing I just want to mention here before talking about the trash, we did have a new guy, a first timer in this particular heroic instance. So I was spending quite some time before each boss pull to make sure that he understood the boss, because I rather want to use a good amount of time to explain a boss before actually engaging it, rather than wiping several times and then explaining it properly. The trash pool here, there isn't really much to talk about. They're pretty damn easy. What makes them a bit tricky though is that they are patrolling a bit around, and the boss as well is patrolling around, so you want to make sure that you pick them up without pulling the boss accidentally or pulling the trash while doing the boss. And now for the boss itself, he has 3 abilities. The first one is Quake, which will make the ground underneath every party member shake, and then they will spawn an ad out of it. So basically they will spawn 5 ads. You want your tank to pick them up and then just AoE them down. For his second and third ability, he will pull everyone to him and chain them, and then start channeling Skull Crusher. Basically what you want to do is to target and destroy the chains so you can get more than 15 yards away from him. Otherwise he will kill everyone within range with his Skull Cracker ability. After killing the first boss, you will get a little help from this guy called Raz to clear out some of the trash, which would otherwise be impossible to get through. Now for the next trash mob after these 2 guys, I want you to pay a little extra attention, because the next boss will spawn these ads if you mess it up. Anyway, before jumping down here as we do now, make sure that any character with a pet, like hunters or mages or warlocks, do dismiss their pet, so they don't accidentally make a train out of the whole instance. This particular trash pool actually has an arcane mage, which has a buff which you can spell steal, and it increases the spell haste of your whole party for 2 minutes for 15%. Then for these big guys, they are pretty much tank and spank, but they do have an ability that you really want to interrupt, otherwise it might rip your tank apart. Now I'm just explaining our newbie the tactics for this particular boss, because it is kind of tricky and you need quite a bit of coordination to execute it properly. So what you want to do here is to have 3 of your party members dedicated to the beam duty. Basically what the beam does is it puts a debuff on whatever target it is hitting, and if it stacks up to 100 stacks, it will turn whatever target into one of those big guys I wanted you to pay extra attention to before. And of course you don't want this to happen, because that's basically a wipe. So you want to have those 3 guys to go in and interrupt the beam so it doesn't hit the mob that is standing there. But you don't want to stack it to more than 80 stacks, because if you get to 100 you will also turn into one of those big guys. So at 80 stacks you move out of the beam, you let them drop off, and rinse and repeat. Then she has another ability, which is a fear, which is obviously very bad, because if you get feared out of the beam, then the debuff won't fall off and it will turn into one of those big guys. So therefore it's very important that you have somebody dedicated also to interrupt those fears. Here it was me and the paladin trying to interrupt those. Then here once again you come to a point where it's impossible to clear the trash, but then Raz comes to the rescue. And that basically brings you to the 3rd boss. Though first you just need to take out those 2 fire guys, and as you can see here, you need to pull them all the way back, because they do bring those slimes on the ground to life. Unless you pull them all the way back, then they will be stone dead. And here I mess up pretty badly. I pulled the fire guy and the boss, and I thought, hey, if we just run far enough back, he will maybe reset. But I guess he is one of the few bosses now in Cataclysm without a soft reset, which at other bosses can be very annoying, since you might get feared over the soft reset and you basically reset the whole boss encounter. Anyway, you might end up with some groups that say that this boss is impossible and they really fear him and they just want to skip him. I think you can skip him at least. I'm not sure because I never did that, so I'm not positive on that one. But it's because basically it all comes down to how well the tank is at doing his movement. Because this boss is basically all about the movement. Since when you initially engage the boss, he won't really take any damage. So what you need to do is to pull him through the fire coming there in the middle. And what this does, it makes a stacking debuff on him, which decreases his armor, so you can actually hit him. But if you let the debuff drop on him, he will spawn some ads, which can be quite frustrating to deal with. So every time the debuff starts running low, you want to run him through the fire again to renew the debuff. And every time he runs through the fire, he does some party AoE damage, and it hurts more the more debuff stacks he has on him. So each time you run him through, you only want to try and add only 1 or 2 stacks. Then after the third boss here, there are some trash pulls, which are pretty much all of them mages or spellcasters. So they can be a bit tough to move around as a tank. Then there are these big elemental guys. They throw down some meteors, and if they do too much damage on a single target, you can try and stack up and you will split the damage. Then this particular pack there and another one later on drop this patch of ice on the ground, and it does give damage when you stand in the ice. And now we are at the fourth boss, which I know is an optional boss. It consists of 4 hellhounds, which 3 of them are linked together, meaning if you pull one of them, you pull all 3 of them. And that would be the boss itself plus 2 of those puppies there. There's one more all the way in the back called Runty, and you don't want to pull that one. And you definitely don't want to kill it if you accidentally pull it, because if you do kill Runty, the boss itself will enrage and kill your raid or your party. Usually what you want to do is to just nuke down one of the puppies while you have the other one CC'd, and you have the tank tanking the whole shebang. And then when you kill off the first target, you either keep CCing the second puppy, or you take it down, and then in the end you take down the boss itself. It can be a fairly tricky encounter to pull off, since you will get feared around, pushed around, and need to move out of fire on the ground. And while you do all this, you might need to keep CCing one of the puppies. But it's got a lot easier, since now it only has 2 puppies, where before it actually had 3 puppies. Then yeah, once again, these big fire elemental dudes, if those meteors, 2 of them drop at the same time on a lonely target, it can kill them, so you might want to stack up. Here we actually do CC one guy, because that is the guy which puts the ice patch on the floor, and I saw that the last time our paladin had a bit trouble moving out of that, so I thought, what the hell, we just CC him and it won't be a problem. So yeah, when you clear that, you can basically go down to the boss, the last boss here, and then Raz will once again kill most of it though, and then die. The last boss here himself isn't really that interesting. What he does is he occasionally swaps places with one of his ads. Though the ads here are a bit more interesting, since they do make a stacking debuff on their target, which reduces the healing taken. Therefore, you definitely don't want the ads on the tank. Also, they have a very interesting threat table, because it isn't like normal where you want to build threat on them. Basically, they go for whoever hit them the last. So even if it's 1 damage, they will go for that guy if that was the guy that hit them the last. Which makes it quite convenient to kite them around. And kiting basically means to have some mobs to follow you, but don't let them hit you. So you do whatever you can to slow them or root them or freeze them or whatever. Just don't let them touch you. Anyway, that was it. I hope you enjoyed and that you can take something from this. And keep rocking, space dudes.